We are continuing to make progress in our fight against COVID-19. We are stabilizing the situation in the dormitories, and our community numbers have been continuing to decline. Recently, you also see that we have more discharges than we have new cases. So the number of active cases in Singapore is also declining. And that puts us in a good position, as we have said, to start preparing for our next phase, which is to ease some of the circuit breaker measures and enable our workers to start resuming work, including the migrant workers in the dormitories who have either recovered or have been cleared and tested and cleared from the virus. So the Ministry of Manpower has laid out very clear guidelines on how this can happen for the overall workforce. But let me focus on the construction sector in particular, because this is a sector where there are indeed higher transmission risk due to the nature of the activity and the mixing of workers across different dormitories and in the work sites. We have been discussing with the industry, with industry association, with contractors, and they too understand the need to put in place changes and new measures to ensure that construction work can resume safely in this new COVID-19 environment. So we are going to introduce new measures that covers the end-to-end precautions from accommodations to the transportation of workers and down to the work sites. The one key change, for example, is that we will require for any project, the workers involved in that project, and usually they will come from multiple contractors living in separate multiple dormitories. But as part of the new requirement, we will now require them to be housed together. If you are working on one project, then you are housed together, and you can be housed in a block within a dormitory, an existing dormitory, or you could be housed on-site in a temporary quarters which the contractor may wish to set up. Now, that's one illustration of a change that we are putting in place so that even if a transmission were to happen in the work site, it will not go back and infect multiple dormitories, right? It will be contained. We are also going to ensure that there is a minimal mixing of workers, communal activities, as Minister Teo had already highlighted, in the dormitories or in their living quarters. Within the work sites itself, there will be new safe distancing measures and precautions, including having workers segregated into different teams, working in different zones and not being cross-deployed. We will use technology like Trace Together and Safe Entry to ensure that the precautions are put in place. And we will importantly also have routine, regular testing of workers on a periodic basis, perhaps over a 2-week interval. So these are quite major changes for the entire construction industry in Singapore. The contractors understand this, and they are preparing for these changes. And because they are such massive changes, what we will do as we resume work is we will select a few projects involving perhaps about 5% of the construction workforce that are ready to work in early June, and then start working with the contractors and the workers involved in these projects to put all the measures in place. So we will resume construction work in a very careful and controlled manner. When we are ready, and when, importantly, the other contractors are ready, we will start scaling up progressively. So it's important to realize, just as for the easing of the circuit breaker restrictions, we are not relaxing everything on the first day on 2nd of June. We are doing it in a careful and calibrated manner. Similarly, for construction sector, work will resume in a controlled manner. It's better to get it right than to rush into it and then see a recurrence of large clusters in this sector. So I hope the industry understands this. There will not be a 100% resumption of construction activities from day one. It will be controlled, but the industry can make use of the time now to get ready, put in place all the safeguards and precautions so that as and when the workers recover and are ready to get to work, the industry itself will be ready and in a good position to get started. I think members of the public will also have to be mentally prepared that because we are doing this in a controlled manner, that there may well be some delays in existing construction projects, because not everything can resume immediately. Right? So there may well be some delays in existing construction projects, but we will try our very best to manage this in a way that minimizes the delays, but also ensures that we only allow construction work to start in a safe manner. Right, so this will be the work that's happening now in the built environment sector. The agencies are actively engaged with all the firms involved, and we will work with them to ensure that we can get work started and resumed over the coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open the floor for questions.
Thank you, panelists. For the first question, could we invite Yan Liang from the Straits Times? Yan Liang, please ask your question.
Hi, Ministers. You mentioned that there is already a short list of construction projects on a priority list to restart first. But in the case of, say, BTOs and residential works, will contractors that are beyond this list get help to put in place the 3 criteria? And then on the same topic, will priority go to public works? And if so, is there an appeals process for private developers? Thank you.
Thank you. We have a list of projects that we have identified. These are mainly critical and time-sensitive ones. And certainly we will be prepared to consider other projects. But it's not on the basis of the merit of the project. It's on the basis of whether the contractor is ready and has all the safeguards and measures in place. So even if a project is most meritorious of resuming work, but if the contractor is unable to show that all of these safeguards are doable and they are unable to get their workers put in place together in the same site, they are unable to get the measures in place at the work site, then they will not be able to resume work, no matter how important that project is. So the first priority is that we want construction work to resume safely. As I said, we are starting with a list of projects which we think are more critical and time-sensitive. It's really to use these projects as a way to also work with the contractor and iron out all the teething issues on the ground that need to be done. At the same time, we are also beefing up our inspection teams on the ground so that we will be able to inspect and audit all the measures that the contractors are putting in place. So I think it's better that we start in a controlled manner, make sure the safeguards are in place. But if a contractor were to come along and say, we have the workers, we have the safeguards, we have all the measures in place and we are good to go, then we will certainly consider these projects outside of the approved list.